top sectoral gainers. And Bajaj Auto two-wheeler sales rise on robust domestic dispatches offset slower growth in exports. M&M's tractor dispatches fall month-on-month basis. Railways on a fast track eyes 12 lakh crore rupee investment over the next 5 years. Railway Minister says and tells NDTV Profit that 2.4 to 2.6 lakh crore rupees investment is optimal. ISRO launches mission to study black holes, second after NASA to do so.
Hello and welcome to Hot Money. I'm Agam, Vakil, and with me is Hiral, Dadia, and we are taking a look at all that is hot in this market. But before that, a quick look at the markets, and we are looking at a very quiet Monday morning at the moment. There isn't too much to speak for. It's flattish largely for the Nifty, the Sensex, and the Bank Nifty on the other hand. Well, we aren't seeing too much there either. That's also marginally in the green at the moment. To take you through very quickly some of the key movers, let's talk about the Nifty constituents and see where there is in fact a little bit more traction, where there is in fact a little bit of more plus and minus. So the constituents should be up on your screen and give us an idea about what's really driving the market. So Adani Enterprises, of course, is up around 2%, and that perhaps is giving the big push. Pardon me, along with ITC and Coal India. Tata Motors is also advancing, but what is really weighing down the indices is HDFC Bank, along with something like an HUL, M&M and Bharti Airtel. And that perhaps is the reason why we are marginally in the red. However, when it comes to your broader markets, the advance to decline ratio is nearly 3:1. And that, of course, is a positive. And that's something that we're going to have to continue to keep an eye on as well, because that will give us an idea about what the direction is as far as markets are concerned. At the moment, we're continuing to keep an eye on the benchmarks and the constituents specifically. Broader markets, however, are a little more action-oriented at the moment, up around 0.5%, not too much to speak for otherwise. But on the whole, it's been a quiet start to the year, Hiral, at least as far as benchmarks go.
Absolutely. And clearly you have the broader markets which are outperforming the benchmark indices in trade on day one. So it's going to be interesting to see how we end. And a lot of stock-specific action is what we are witnessing. But moving on, railway sector has been in focus. In fact, my colleague Tamanna Inamdar spoke to Ashwini Vaishnav about how India can cut cargo logistics costs by shifting to rail transport. First, let's listen in to a bite of that conversation.
At this pace of growth, we'll be adding close to 3,000 million ton extra cargo. Now, if this kind of extra cargo were to be taken totally by road, what are the implications of that? Implications of that: extra pollution, extra diesel and petrol consumption, correct? Extra number of congestion on the roads. Whereas if you look at all other large economies, suppose 50% of this 1,500 million tons is taken by rail. The amount of petrol, diesel that you save it's like 160,000 liters per annum. Translate that into 80 rupees per liter. Translate that into money. That is like 1,24,000 crore every year. That much saving is there.
Right. So that's with regards to where the railway sector goes. Clearly, annual rail budget of 2.4 lakh crore is what will be spent in the first week of March, and a budget of 2.4 to 2.6 lakh crore is optimal to maintain the quality of work. That's the word coming in from there. And for this, a lot of order announcements that are happening as well, for which RailTel is one of the companies we are looking at. Now, they've received an order worth 1,200 odd crores. Sanjay Kumar, Chairman and Managing Director of the company, joins us now. Sanjay, good afternoon, I beg your pardon, and welcome to the show. We were just hearing a small bite from the Railway Minister as well, clearly indicating the kind of budget allocations that will be on the annual. But firstly, let's talk about the order that RailTel has got. If you could give give us more in terms of what is the kind of execution timeline and what's the margin profile of this order?
So thank you, Hiral. First of all, I would like to wish Happy New Year to all investors, stakeholders, and NDTV Profit team. When you actually, I think you mentioned about the order 120 crore. This is not 1200 crore. So this is 120 crore order which we have received recently from South Central Railway. So this is in Guntukal division, and timeline of execution will be around 2 years. This is a brownfield work. So this is all about the automatic signaling system, introduction of automatic signaling systems. So basically this will help in increasing the line capacity of the railway track.
Okay, so Sanjay, good morning. This is Agam. Can you give us an idea about your current order book then, and how much of that is executable in the balance of this financial year, and what can we expect when it comes to FY25 going forward?
Yeah, so good morning, Agam. Our order book is around 5,000 plus crores, and we are expecting next year out of this order book around 1,200 to 1,300 crore to basically convert into revenues as far as this order book is concerned. But we are continuously winning orders, so we expect much more to come. But this is out of this present order book is, yes.
Right. Sanjay, my other question coming to you is now, basis the order book that you mentioned as well, and in terms of FY25, and if you have to look at 26 as well, what's that execution pipeline going to look like, and how much of it will be converted to revenues? If you could give us a breakup of the same.
So as I told you, this year, next year, basically 24-25 will be, as I told you, this is 1,200 to 1,300 crore out of this order book will be converted into the revenue. And present year will be getting around, remaining around 600 more crores.
Okay.
This year.
Right. So, Sanjay, you know what? I'm looking at your first half in terms of revenues, and we've seen a lot of impetus being built, a lot of your, in fact, the bulk of your growth coming in from project work services as a segment. And whereas when it comes to telecommunication services, it's been relatively subdued. My question is, going forward, where do your bulk of their revenues, do they continue to come from project work services? And how can this mix change perhaps as we move into FY25 given your current order book?
Yeah, so projects, naturally projects size is continuously increasing for past couple of years. And that proportion is certainly going to remain and continuously growing in favor of projects. But the projects will be like mix of telecom and IT, ICT both. So there'll be telecom segment as well. You would rightly pointed out that telecom growth is not growing the way it should have been. But given the competition, especially in broadband, the growth is not coming up, and we have worked out a strategy so that the same is compensated in the coming quarters and years. We especially focusing on rail wire segment, which is our broadband services. And we are now especially focusing on tier 2, tier 3 towns where our strength lies in. And we are also working on making our customer care, customer help desk systems, so that because the rail wire broadband system, the services which we are providing, they are actually people whosoever are using right now. They have multiple times we have connected with them, and they feel is much better than the competitors. But the pricing and the connectivity, the access has been a challenge with us. So pricing part we have already handled. Now connectivity also we have made some strategies, and I'm sure that railway broadband services are going to provide us impetus as far as telecom services are concerned.
Right. So, Sanjay, very quickly, in terms of the infrastructure, we're looking at a 61,000 kilometer route. Wi-Fi at around little over 6,100 odd stations, and Railway is going to invest little almost 1 lakh crore to upgrade the signal systems. Now, all of this is good, ambitious numbers that are coming in from the government. What is the bid pipeline then expected to look like for a RailTel, and how good a growth number are you expected to achieve if you have to look at the next 4 to 5 years?
Yeah, so next 4 to 5 or say maybe 5 to 6 years, this 1 lakh crore is going to be spent on signaling system modernization, telecom as well. And RailTel is very much excited about this spending by railways, Indian railways alone. And we are sure that we'll get a good percentage out of it as orders for us.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That's the management of RailTel. Sanjay, we'll take a moment to thank you for joining us and taking us through the company's plans as well as what we can expect in terms of execution and, of course, even more robust FY25 is what you are indicating to us. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the progress of the company. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us here. And on that note, we'll slip into a short break. But on the other side, we talk about stocks and a lot more. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
Welcome back. You're watching Hot Money. Now, clearly, a whole host of companies that will be in focus in today's session. And to discuss more, Avinash Goraskshakar, Director Research at Profitmart Securities, joins in. Avinash, good afternoon and welcome to the show, and wishing you a happy new year. Avinash, welcome to the show and wishing you a happy new year.
Yeah, happy New Year to you, Hiral, and even for Agam. Best wishes to the entire NDTV Profit team.
Thank you so much. Avinash, let's start with the EV players. You know, Friday's session, when we heard of the government planning to switch almost 800,000 diesel buses to EV, since then we're seeing a good buzz around Tata Motors, JBM Auto, Electra, Ashok Leyland. All of these counters are up and about in trade. What's your view on this, and specifically with the JBM Auto, where the stock is up almost 13 to 14%, volumes are pretty strong as well. How would you look at it?
No, I think this is definitely a positive surprise for the electric vehicle players. And I think, players like Tata Motors, JBM, Electra are definitely going to benefit from the exponential rise in the volumes expected going forward. My sense is that Tata Motors seems to be well positioned because it's one of the larger players in the electric vehicle space. But I think JBM Auto and Electra also would get a fair share of the bus business, because the commercial buses are one segment where the government is serious enough in spending a lot of money. They want to convert all the commercial, the diesel vehicles into electric vehicles, which in itself will present a big opportunity for the next 2 to 3 years for these companies. So I think, it's better if investors actually accumulate these stocks on declines. The markets have actually re-rated the stocks quite significantly. So I think it would be a wise decision to buy these stocks on dips. I think current levels, even somebody has already has positions here, can hold on, but fresh buying should be done only on decline.
Okay, there you have it. That's the view on JBM Auto, and from there on we move on to Vodafone Idea, which is really rallying for yet another day on surge in volumes, and for yet another day it's advancing by another at least 5%. It's at around 16.85 now. That's its underlying price, and we're going to get in my colleague Smriti to tell us a little more about what's driving the optimism in Vodafone Idea. Smriti, good afternoon. What do you have for us?
Good afternoon, Agam. You're right. If you look at the stock performance, it's definitely up today. In the year to date, the stock is up over 100%. And in the last 1 month only, the stock has climbed up to 30%. Now, this seems to be like a hope rally. The hope rally because the government has time and again said that they're not going to let a duopoly happen in the telecom sector. So that's one. The second is the hope that a new investor will come in. But I'd like to point out that the analysts, there are murmurs between analysts that no prudent investor would go and buy into Vodafone Idea, especially in the current state. It has a negative debt worth, debt of over 2 lakh crores. So it doesn't seem like a prudent investor would come in and put in money. However, the government has time and again said that there is a lot of quote-unquote investor interest in the telecom sector. Now, they have not specifically spoken about Vodafone Idea, and my colleague Tamanna also spoke to Ashwini Vaishnaw in a recent interview. He mentioned that there's some interest in the telecom sector. So maybe that is a signal that the market has taken, that there might be some positive news in the future. But currently there's no fundamental news that we can say is driving the stock. Now, the third is the government ownership. And now this government ownership is through DPIM, I'd like to point out. That means at some point the government is going to sell its stake and monetize that stake essentially. So that's one reason. The other one being there's a tax refund that is likely to be received soon. So that's the other one. And the fourth one is the tariff hike that might come in this year, that is 2024. And that will benefit Vodafone Idea the most, because it needs it the most rather. So that's probably why the stock has been on an uptrend.
Right, fair enough. Smriti, thank you so much for getting us all the many reasons behind which we could see that rally in Vodafone Idea. Of course, for now, we still need a clarity on a lot of the other factors as well. But it is certainly doing very well in today's day of trade. Avinash, your view on Vodafone Idea, how would you address this one? Okay, I think that we have Avinash who has, we lost him, but we'll get back with him. But before that, We'll hear out what the Telecommunications Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw had to say about Vodafone's AGR moratorium. Listen.
तो इतना क्लियर है कि आज टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में जो अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी, AGR की डेफिनेशन क्या है, स्पेक्ट्रम के यूसेज में क्या होना चाहिए, करीब करीब 99% अनसर्टेनिटीज़ ख़त्म हो चुकी है. आज इन्वेस्टर्स टेलीकॉम सेक्टर की तरफ एक नए नज़रिए से देख रहे हैं. इस टेलीकॉम एक्ट के बाद में जो रही सही अनसर्टेनिटीज़ थी वो भी ख़त्म हो गई है.
Sir, but to come back to the point of Vodafone idea.
देखो वो उनके शेयर उनके मैनेजमेंट से पूछो.
Let me ask.
It's a listed company. I don't want to comment on it.
So just the simple point, just if I may, the government has stepped in and saved this company.
We have done whatever is supposed to be done. I don't want to comment on companies which are listed. सबके शेयर मार्केट के में prices होते हैं. I don't want to comment on any such. Whether it's a railway company or telecom company or electronics company, anything. I just don't want to comment on any listed company.
Okay. No, I want to understand because there are concerns about a duopoly forming in the country.
अब नहीं concerns.
Okay.
अभी तो telecom sector is looking like a fresh investment cycle has already started in telecom sector.
A fresh investment cycle that could have started in the telecom space. That's the word coming in, and that's going to be interesting. But moving on to another PSU, Coal India is in focus as well. If you see in terms of Coal India, it's interesting because you had a Motilal Oswal which had a buy. They have a target price of 430 on the counter, and it is their top pick for 2024. A good rally, 8-year high is what the stock has hit. Avinash, a quick one in terms of Coal India. What would you advise investors to do?
I think Coal India continues to do well as far as their production volumes are concerned, as far as coal prices are concerned. I think you could expect a very strong Q3 number and a very strong financial year, that is FY24. And the kind of growth we have seen in the power generation kind of capacity and the demand, from most of the power generating players, I would not be surprised that Coal India would continue to do a reasonably good show even for the current as well as for the next financial year. Our sense is that, Coal India had underperformed for a very long time because of production related issues. But I think now production has been steadily rising and we have been advising our clients to actually buy the stock on every decline. We have a fair value of around 430, 440.
Right, so that's with regards to Coal India, an interesting one to watch out for. But let's quickly slip into a short break. We'll be right back with lots more stocks to discuss. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back, and we finally want to address BHEL because it has emerged as the lowest bidder in an NLC India contract for worth around 19,400 crore rupees one, and this is for a turnkey contract. This also will potentially put its overall order book well over 1,30,000 crores. But the real question is that while BHEL enjoys a very large order book, it really has not come through in terms of its execution. That said, it has had a very lackluster first half of this financial year, and as it moves up higher, around 3.5% as we speak, it is currently trading somewhere near a 12-year high, which also means that it really hasn't returned anything to shareholders over the last 12 years. Avinash, how would you address BHEL? Are things really turning a corner for this company, and what would your view be on this one?
I think, Agam, you're absolutely right. Now the narratives are only playing out. The fundamentals have yet got to get reflected into numbers. My sense is that it's going to be a tough call, basically looking at the first half performance. Whatever order book has been received by the company, I think this order book execution is now going to be seen very closely by the markets. Any letdown in the execution would obviously mean that the markets would not be convinced about BHEL going forward. But yes, at the current valuations, if one were to look at the price rise, the prices are purely rising because of the narrative. And I would believe that you will have to wait for at least a couple of quarters before you could see material numbers. So I think it's a hold from our side. We would not be buying at the current levels, but any dip, here would definitely be a good opportunity to accumulate this stock.
Okay, fair enough, Avinash. We leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through your views on the many stocks and themes that we wanted to discuss in the show. And on that note, it's a wrap on this show, but there's lots more lined up on the other side. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.